For the next few minutes, I'm not just going to talk to you. I'm going to take you through something, an experience, a shift. Because by the time we're done, you won't just understand what's been holding you back. You'll feel it leave. You'll start seeing your life differently. And when that happens, everything begins to fall into place, effortlessly. But for this to work, I need you to give me something. Your full attention. Let go of every distraction. Forget about what's waiting for you after this video. Because what you're about to hear is not just a lesson. It's a doorway. And if you step through it, you may never see your reality the same way again. So are you ready? Let's begin. Welcome to the Forgotten Chapters YouTube channel, where we explore the deep truths that change the way you live, think, and see the world. If this is your first time here, hit the subscribe button because what we talk about here is not the usual advice you hear everywhere else. Today, we're going to talk about one of the strangest truths about life: how doing nothing can sometimes make everything happen faster. Why do the things you chase run from you, and the things you stop worrying about flow in effortlessly? By the end of this video, you'll not only understand why this happens, you'll know how to use it in your own life, starting today. And make sure you stay until the very last chapter, because that's where I'll show you how to lock this in permanently. I want you to think back, way back to a moment in your life when you wanted something so badly it kept you awake at night. It might have been a job that felt like it was made for you. A person you were sure was the one. An opportunity that seemed like the doorway to everything you'd been dreaming about. You could see it in your mind. You could feel it in your bones. You pictured the moment you'd finally get it, over and over again. And yet, no matter what you did, no matter how hard you tried, it stayed just out of reach. You pushed harder, prayed harder, worked harder, still nothing. It was like life had locked the door and thrown away the key. And here's the part that hurt the most. It wasn't just the loss of the thing you wanted. It was the slow, suffocating feeling that maybe you were doing something wrong, that maybe you weren't good enough, that maybe life wasn't on your side. Now shift that memory aside for a second. I want you to think of another moment, a time when something amazing landed in your lap without you even trying. You weren't desperate for it. You weren't chasing it. You weren't even thinking about it that much. Maybe you were focused on something else. Maybe you'd even forgotten about it. And then, out of nowhere, it showed up. That text message. That unexpected yes. That opportunity you didn't apply for. It felt effortless, natural, like it was meant to happen all along. You didn't have to claw for it. You didn't have to tear yourself apart to get it. It simply found its way to you. Almost like life was saying, "Here, this is yours." Tell me, why is it that the things we grip so tightly seem to slip away, but the things we barely think about glide into our lives like water flowing downhill? Why does life seem to play by rules we don't even understand? The truth is, there is an unseen game being played at every moment of your life, and most people don't even know they're playing it. They think life is about doing more, pushing harder, proving themselves to the universe. They think that if they want something, they have to fight for it, control it, chase it until they collapse. But here's the problem. When you're chasing, you're telling life, "I don't have this yet. I'm incomplete without it. I'm empty until it arrives." And life, like a mirror, reflects that emptiness back to you. Every thought of, "Where is it? Why isn't it here yet?" reinforces the very gap you're trying to close. You're not just wanting, you're confirming to the world that you are without. And what you are without, you stay without. The game isn't played by force, it's played by alignment. And alignment doesn't come from chasing. Here's the twist. What you truly want doesn't come because you've pushed enough buttons or jumped through enough hoops. It comes because you've stepped into the version of yourself who already has it. This is the part that turns the whole game upside down. When you already feel whole, you stop sending out the signal of lack. When you stop trying to get, you start allowing. And when you start allowing, the very thing you thought you had to chase begins chasing you. The job calls you back. The person notices you. The door that was locked swings open. Not because you forced it, but because you became the kind of person who belonged on the other side of it all along. The unseen game is not about proving your worth to life. It's about finally remembering that life was never holding anything back from you in the first place. It was only waiting for you to stop holding it back from yourself. Isn't it strange how some of the most beautiful things in our lives arrive when we're not looking for them? Think about it. How many times have you stumbled into something incredible without planning, without chasing, without losing sleep over it? Maybe it was a conversation that turned into a life-changing friendship. Maybe it was a business idea that came to you while you were relaxing, not grinding. Maybe it was meeting someone special in the most ordinary moment, when you were just minding your own business. You weren't strategizing, you weren't checking the clock, you weren't rehearsing every possible outcome, you were simply living. And then, out of nowhere, life handed you something that felt like it was custom-made for you. No forcing, no begging, no exhausting your soul, just flow. Doesn't that make you wonder? If the best things can happen when you're not chasing them, what does that say about the way we've been taught to get what we want? The truth is, most of us have been taught the exact opposite of what works. We've been told to always go after what we want, to never stop pushing, to make things happen no matter what it takes. And yes, there's value in action, but here's the trap. When you act from desperation, you push the very thing you want further away. Why? Because desperation isn't just an emotion, it's a broadcast. It tells the world, I need this because I'm incomplete without it. And the more you declare your incompleteness, the more life mirrors it back. That's why those effortless moments feel so magical, because they bypass all that noise. In those moments, you weren't in a state of lack. You weren't waiting, doubting, or overthinking. You were already enough in that moment, and life simply responded by adding to your wholeness. What if, instead of fighting life for what you want, you became the person life wants to give to? Here's the secret most people miss. Effortless moments aren't accidents, they're signals. They're proof that the universe, God, or whatever name you give to that greater intelligence is constantly trying to move things toward you. The problem is when you're caught up in anxiety and control, you block the flow. You start oversteering, overcorrecting, and trying to carry the weight of what was never yours to carry. But when you stop gripping so tightly, you make space, you let things breathe. And in that space, life rushes in with answers, opportunities, and blessings that were already on their way to you. Effortless moments aren't lucky breaks. They're glimpses of what your life could look like all the time, if you stopped standing in your own way. They're the natural state of things, but we've gotten so used to forcing that we've forgotten how to let things happen. So let me ask you something. What if you decided, just for a moment, to trust the same way you do in those effortless moments? What if you stopped checking, stopped questioning, stopped telling yourself stories about why it's not here yet? What if you lived as if it was already handled? Because the truth is, those effortless moments aren't rare. They're the baseline reality you can live in. But to do that, you have to step out of the old game. You have to stop treating life like it's a wall you need to climb, and start treating it like a river you can flow with. And the first step toward that? It's deciding to believe that you don't have to fight for what already belongs to you. In the next chapter, we'll talk about the deeper law that makes this possible. A law that's always been there, whether you've noticed it or not. And once you understand it, you'll never look at the chase the same way again. Before we move on, I want you to think about this. What's one time in your life when something wonderful came to you without you working yourself to the bone for it? I want you to drop it in the comments right now, because when you share it, you remind yourself that it's possible, and you inspire someone else to believe it too. There's a truth about life that is so simple, it almost sounds unbelievable. It's not hidden in some ancient temple. It's not locked in a book only a few have read. It's been sitting in plain sight the whole time, so obvious, most people miss it. Here it is. Life doesn't respond to what you say you want. It responds to who you are while you're wanting it. That's it. Every time you've chased something, begged for it, or stayed up worrying about it, you've been sending out the same quiet message: I don't have it yet, and I might never get it. Life hears that message loud and clear, and like a mirror, it reflects back more of that same reality. But when you've been relaxed, certain, and full, life sends you proof that matches that state too. It's not magic, it's not luck, it's law. Think of it like a radio signal. Your feelings, your thoughts, your inner state, that's your frequency. Whatever matches your frequency comes toward you. Whatever doesn't match stays away. Most people try to fake it by smiling on the outside while panicking on the inside. But the universe isn't fooled. The frequency is still coming through, even when your mouth says something different. And here's the hardest part to accept. It doesn't matter how badly you want it. If you're wanting from a place of fear, life will respond with more reasons to keep fearing. That's why Neville Goddard's words are so powerful. Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. He didn't say hope for it, or work yourself into the ground for it. He said, assume. An assumption isn't pretending, it's living as though it's already real. When you truly assume, you're not checking for signs every hour. You're not scrolling through your phone waiting for that message. You're not lying awake wondering if it will happen. You know, the way you know the sun will rise tomorrow, the way you know your name. You carry yourself differently when you know. You speak differently. You move differently. You stop gripping so tightly because you're no longer trying to drag something toward you. It's already yours. And that's where the shift happens. That's when life starts opening doors you didn't even know were there. That's when the person you've been looking for just happens to cross your path. That's when the call comes in, the opportunity shows up, the yes lands in your lap. Not because you forced it, but because your state matched the outcome. So here's the question I want you to ask yourself right now. If I truly believed this thing was already mine, how would I be living differently today? Would you still be searching for proof? Would you still be overthinking every move? Or would you breathe a little deeper, walk a little lighter, trust a little more? Because that is the law you've been missing. Not the law of effort, not the law of chasing, but the law of alignment. And once you start living in alignment, you'll realize you've been spending most of your life in the wrong game. In the next chapter, we're going to talk about how to stop playing that old game for good, how to step out of the role of the chaser and into the role of the receiver. Once you do, you'll see that you were never waiting on life. Life was always waiting on you. In a moment, I'm going to give you the first move that will pull you out of the chasing game forever. But first, drop this in the comments. If you already had the thing you've been wanting most, what's one small thing you would stop worrying about right now? Your answer might be the key that changes how fast it comes to you. If you take nothing else from this entire message, take this. Stop chasing. That doesn't mean stop caring. It doesn't mean give up on your dream. It doesn't mean sit around doing nothing and hoping the universe delivers your life in a gift box. It means stop living in the energy of I need this or I'm not complete. Because here's the truth. Every time you chase, you confirm to life that what you want is still missing. And life, like a faithful mirror, reflects that back to you. Think about it. Have you ever chased someone's attention? Called them too much, texted them too often, tried too hard to make them see your value? What happened? They pulled away. Not because they were cruel, but because your energy screamed, I need you to validate me before I can feel okay. The same happens with opportunities, with money, with every desire you have. The harder you chase, the more it runs. Stopping the chase is not about being lazy, it's about shifting position. Imagine you're fishing. When you throw your line in the water, you don't keep yanking it up every 2 seconds to check if the fish is on the hook. You set the line and you wait. You trust. You know that if you keep disturbing the water, you'll scare the fish away. Chasing is the same. Every time you check the clock, refresh your inbox, or replay the what-if scenarios in your head, you disturb the water. You send out ripples of doubt and lack that push what you want further away. But when you stop chasing, when you trust that it's already in motion, you keep the water still. You create the space for what you want to come to you naturally, without resistance. So how do you stop chasing when your mind is screaming at you to do something? You start by asking yourself one question. If it was already done, what would I be doing right now? If you already had the job, the relationship, and the opportunity, how would you carry yourself today? Would you be pacing the floor? Would you be checking your phone every 30 minutes? Or would you be enjoying your day, working on other things, living fully in the present? The goal isn't to fake this feeling, it's to practice it until it becomes natural. Every time your mind tries to drag you back into the chase, you gently remind yourself, it's already on the way. I don't need to run after it, I just need to be ready for it. And readiness comes from peace, not panic. Here's what's powerful. When you stop chasing, you make a statement to life. I already have it in my reality. That statement changes your frequency. It changes your actions without you even forcing it. Suddenly, you walk into a room differently. You talk differently. You think differently. And because your state has changed, life mirrors that change back to you. The opportunities, the calls, the messages, the chance meetings, they start happening, not because you chased them, but because you stopped creating the resistance that was blocking them in the first place. So, from this moment on, commit to this. No more chasing, no more begging, no more energy of lack. You can want something without running after it. You can move toward your goals without gripping them in fear. And in the next chapter, we'll go even deeper into how to hold this new state without slipping back into the old habits that kept you stuck. If this is speaking to you, hit the like button so this message can reach more people who need it. And tell me in the comments, what's one thing you've been chasing lately that you're ready to let go of? Writing it down can be the first step in setting yourself free. Stopping the chase is the first breakthrough. But here's where most people stumble. Once they stop chasing, they can hold that calm, confident state for a few hours, maybe a day or two. And then, almost without noticing, they slip right back into old habits. Doubt starts whispering, it's been a while, maybe it's not coming after all. Impatience creeps in, shouldn't something have happened by now? And before you know it, you're checking, waiting, worrying again. That's why this step is so important, because stopping the chase isn't enough if you can't stay in the energy of already having it. This is the difference between someone who sees flashes of manifestation here and there, and someone who lives in a constant flow where good things just keep showing up. So how do you stay in the energy without slipping? You make peace with not knowing when or how it will happen. That's the part most people can't handle. They can trust for a little while, but they secretly have a timeline in mind. And when that invisible deadline passes, panic takes over. But here's the truth. Your job isn't to control the timing. Your job is to hold the energy until reality catches up. Think of it like ordering a package online. You don't place the order and then call the delivery company every 10 minutes to check where it is. You trust that it's on its way, even if you don't see it yet. The moment you can feel that same certainty about your desires is the moment you've stepped into real power. Now, I'm not saying you'll never feel doubt again. You will. We all do. But here's the trick. When doubt creeps in, you don't have to feed it. You don't have to react. Let it pass through you like a cloud passing across the sky. If you fight it, you make it stronger. If you believe it, you lose your state. But if you acknowledge it without surrendering to it, it will fade. And every time you do this, you train your mind to trust a little more. You start rewiring the pattern that used to pull you back into chasing. Over time, staying in the energy of already having it becomes your default, not just a temporary high you have after watching a motivational video. This is what staying in the energy really means. It's living as though the outcome is already secured, no matter what your senses tell you right now. You walk, talk, and make decisions from that place. You stop asking for signs because you know it's done. You stop asking when because you know it's coming. And because your energy is consistent, life responds consistently. Opportunities don't just appear once, they keep showing up. Relationships don't just spark, they deepen. Your results stop being random and start being reliable. That's the difference between wishing and knowing. And once you master this, you'll see that life isn't playing hard to get. It's just been waiting for you to hold your ground long enough for it to deliver. In the next chapter, we're going to deal with one of the biggest energy killers there is, the obsession with timelines. and why letting go of them will speed up everything you're waiting for. If you're still with me, let me know in the comments. What's the hardest part for you? Is it believing it's already done? Or is it trusting without knowing when it will happen? Your answer might help someone else realize they're not alone in this. One of the fastest ways to kill your own progress is to put your dreams on a stopwatch. We do it without even realizing it. You tell yourself, if it doesn't happen by this date, maybe it's not meant for me. Or, if they don't call back this week, it's over. Or, if I don't have this amount of money by next month, I've failed. And from that moment on, you're not living in trust. You're living in countdown mode. Every day that passes without seeing results feels heavier. You start looking for signs, and when you don't see them, your hope fades. The more you check the clock, the louder doubt gets. And here's the truth. Timelines are almost always a form of fear dressed up as planning. We use them to try and feel in control, but in reality, they chain us to the very state of lack we're trying to escape. Think about planting a seed. You put it in the soil, water it, and then, what? You don't dig it up every single day to check if it's growing. You trust the process, even though you can't see the roots forming under the surface. But that's exactly what people do with their dreams. They dig them up every day by worrying about the timeline. And here's what you need to understand. Life is not bound by the clock you're watching. You can't bully your blessings into arriving faster. In fact, the tighter you grip the calendar, the more you delay the very thing you want. That's because obsession over when is just another way of saying, it's not here yet, and I'm afraid it won't be. And as you've already learned, life reflects that fear back to you. Now, letting go of timelines doesn't mean you stop taking action. It doesn't mean you have no goals or structure. It means you stop measuring your worth by how fast something happens. Some of the best things that will ever happen to you might take longer than you expected, but when they arrive, you'll see exactly why the timing had to be the way it was. Sometimes life is rearranging people, opportunities, and even your own mindset before delivering what you've asked for. If it gave it to you too soon, you wouldn't be ready. And sometimes the waiting period is not a punishment. It's a gift. It's the space where you grow into the person who can actually hold what you've been asking for without losing it. So here's your shift. From this moment forward, stop treating the timeline as a threat. Instead, treat it like a blank canvas. The longer it stays blank, the more space there is for the masterpiece to unfold exactly as it should. When you can live without the clock breathing down your neck, you free yourself from one of the biggest sources of resistance there is. You stop rushing, you stop doubting, and you start letting life surprise you in ways your deadlines could never allow. In the next chapter, we'll talk about what to do during the silent gap, that space between knowing it's coming and actually seeing it appear. Because how you handle that space can make all the difference between a breakthrough and a breakdown. Let's be real. Are you someone who constantly checks the clock on your dreams? Drop a yes or no in the comments. And if you're ready to live without the pressure of timelines, type, I trust the process. There's a moment in every journey where the excitement fades, the signs go quiet, and the world feels still. At first, it's thrilling. You've stopped chasing, you've shifted your energy, you're feeling aligned. Then, nothing. Days pass, maybe weeks, and you start wondering, did I do something wrong? Did I lose it? Is it even coming? This is the stage where most people quit, not because the dream is gone, but because they mistake silence for absence. But here's the truth. Silence is not a sign that nothing is happening. Silence is where the rearranging takes place. It's the unseen work being done behind the curtain. It's the soil holding the seed you planted. The roots are forming, even if you can't see them yet. But if you can't handle the silence, you'll dig up the seed before it ever has a chance to grow. Making peace with silence is not easy, especially when you've been trained to measure progress only by what you can see. But this step is about breaking that habit. You have to understand that reality often needs time to catch up with the state you've shifted into. It's not punishing you, it's aligning the pieces. The people you need to meet, the opportunities that need to appear, the circumstances that need to line up, All of that takes movement you can't see. When you demand constant proof, you interrupt that alignment. It's like pulling on a flower bud, trying to make it bloom faster. It only tears the petals before they've had a chance to open. Silence, if you let it, will be the very thing that allows your manifestation to arrive stronger, richer, and more complete than if it came instantly. This is why you must refuse to scramble when things go quiet. If you panic, you slip back into chasing mode without even realizing it. And chasing, as you already know, pushes things away. But when you can breathe in the stillness and carry yourself as though everything is already set in motion, you create space for the magic to work. Think about the calm before sunrise. You don't need to see the sun to know it's on its way. You just trust it will appear, because it always does. That's the kind of certainty you need in the silence. You fill your days with living, not waiting. You laugh, you create, you move forward in other areas, knowing that your desire is still on its way. Silence becomes your ally instead of your enemy. When you master this, you enter a new level of power. You stop being shaken by delays. You stop begging the universe for just one sign. You stop doubting every quiet moment. Instead, you treat the silence as proof that something is building. And here's the most beautiful part. When the breakthrough finally arrives, you won't just be happy about what you received. You'll be proud of who you became in the waiting. Because making peace with silence isn't just about getting what you want. It's about becoming the kind of person who can hold it without fear, without rushing, and without losing themselves. In the next chapter, we'll talk about what it looks like when you step out of forcing and into allowing, and why that shift alone can make the difference between struggling for scraps and living in overflow. Tell me in the comments, how do you usually feel when things go quiet? Do you trust it? Or do you panic? Be honest, because what you share might help someone else realize they're not alone in their silence. There's a huge difference between making things happen and letting things happen. And the moment you truly understand it, your life changes. Most of us have been trained since childhood to force our way through life. Push harder, try more, hustle until you're exhausted. And yes, there's a time for effort. But here's the problem. When all your energy comes from forcing, you're telling life, I don't trust you to deliver, so I have to do everything myself. That energy is heavy. It's tense, it's desperate, and when you're in that space, you miss the gentle ways life is trying to bring you what you want. You're so busy hammering on one locked door that you don't notice another door quietly swinging open right behind you. Forcing blinds you. Allowing opens your eyes. Allowing doesn't mean you sit on the couch all day doing nothing. It means you take aligned action without clinging to the outcome. When you allow, you move forward with faith instead of fear. You send the message, I'm ready for this, but I'm not going to strangle it with my worry. Think about how water moves. It doesn't force itself through solid rock. It flows around it, over it, and under it until it finds its path. And because it doesn't waste energy fighting the obstacle, it eventually shapes the rock itself. That's the quiet power of allowing. It's not weakness, it's strength in its purest form. It's knowing you don't have to fight every battle to win the war. Here's the danger with forcing. It burns you out before you get where you're going. You might even get what you want, but you'll be too drained to enjoy it. That's why so many people finally land the job, the relationship, the opportunity, and then feel empty. They forced it into place, but it wasn't a natural fit. Allowing, on the other hand, feels different. You take steps toward what you want, but you also leave room for it to meet you halfway. You trust the timing, you trust the process. And when it arrives, it feels effortless. Not because you didn't work, but because you weren't fighting the whole time. It came together in a way that matched your energy instead of draining it. So how do you shift from forcing to allowing? Start small. Ask yourself before every action. Am I doing this because I trust it's coming, or because I'm afraid it won't? If the answer is fear, pause, reset, breathe. Remind yourself that the best things in your life probably didn't arrive through struggle alone. They flowed in at the right moment. Let this be your new standard. No more breaking yourself to prove you're worthy. No more fighting life to get what it's already trying to give you. In the next chapter, we're going to talk about living as if. How to fully embody the version of you who already has it, so the gap between you and your desires closes faster than you've ever seen before. Before we move on, I want to hear from you. Do you think you've been forcing or allowing lately? Type forcing if you've been pushing too hard, or allowing if you've been flowing. Your honesty might be exactly what someone else needs to see. This is where the shift becomes real. When you stop waiting for your desire and start living as though it's already yours. Not pretending, not faking it for a few minutes in the mirror. Actually stepping into the version of yourself who has already received it. Because here's the truth. If your dream were already in your hands, your thoughts would be different, your choices would be different, and your entire energy would be different. But most people keep living in the version of themselves that's still waiting, still searching, still doubting. And life, being the perfect mirror it is, keeps reflecting that version back to them. The secret is to close that gap, not by working harder, but by becoming the you that has what you want now. Think about it. If you already had the relationship you've been praying for, would you be checking your phone every hour, wondering if they'll text? No, you'd be secure. If you already had the money you've been asking for, would you wake up in panic every morning? No, you'd carry yourself with peace. If you already had the opportunity you've been dreaming about, would you be asking yourself, what if it never happens? No, you'd be focused on preparing for it, living in alignment with it. This is the game-changing part of manifestation most people skip. They keep hoping for a change in circumstances before they change themselves. But the truth is, your circumstances don't create your state. Your state creates your circumstances. So how do you live as if without feeling fake? You start with the small things. Change your posture. Speak the way you'd speak if you were already living the life you want. Make decisions the way you'd make them if you weren't afraid of losing everything. If you want to feel abundant, stop acting like every purchase is a threat to your survival. If you want to feel loved, stop showing up in relationships like you have to prove you're worthy. Living as if isn't about lying to yourself, it's about aligning yourself with the truth you want to see reflected in your life. And here's the beauty. Once you start doing this, your mind begins to believe it. Your energy shifts. And when your energy shifts, the world starts to respond differently. So, how do you live as if without feeling fake? You start with the small things. Change your posture. Speak the way you'd speak if you were already living the life you want. Make decisions the way you'd make them if you weren't afraid of losing everything. If you want to feel abundant, stop acting like every purchase is a threat to your survival. If you want to feel loved, stop showing up in relationships like you have to prove you're worthy. Living as if isn't about lying to yourself. It's about aligning yourself with the truth you want to see reflected in your life. And here's the beauty. Once you start doing this, your mind begins to believe it. Your energy shifts, and when your energy shifts, the world starts to respond differently. If you truly lived as if your dream had already come true, what's one small thing you'd start doing differently today? Drop it in the comments. You might be surprised how quickly that one small shift changes everything. This is where everything you've learned becomes a way of life, not just a momentary mindset shift. It's one thing to stop chasing for a few days, to hold the energy for a little while, to live as if when you're feeling inspired. But true transformation happens when this becomes your default state. When you no longer have to remind yourself to trust, you simply trust. When you no longer have to force yourself to stop checking, you just don't feel the need anymore. This is what locking it in looks like. You no longer bounce between belief and doubt. You stay steady, even when nothing seems to be happening. You've built a foundation so strong that external circumstances can't shake you out of it. That's the level where life stops delivering you random wins and starts delivering you a consistent flow. Locking it in begins with making a decision, a real decision, that this is who you are now. Not who you're trying to be, not who you hope to become, but who you already are. You've seen enough in your life to know that chasing doesn't work, that forcing only delays, and that alignment opens doors in ways you can't plan. So you decide, no more slipping back into the old game. No more doubting every quiet moment. No more treating your dreams like they're running away from you. You choose to live in the energy of already having, every single day, without conditions. This isn't blind faith, it's practiced certainty. You've trained your mind, your emotions, and your actions to match the reality you want, and now it's natural. Here's the powerful part. Once you lock this in, your entire life starts to reorganize itself around you. People will treat you differently because your energy is different. Opportunities will appear that you didn't even have to go looking for. The lucky breaks will become so common, they won't even surprise you anymore. They'll just feel normal. You'll realize that the universe, God, life, whatever you believe in, was never holding anything back from you. It was always waiting for you to hold your frequency long enough for it to deliver. And when you live this way, you stop being in a constant cycle of trying to get somewhere. You're already there. And from that place, every new desire you have will come to you faster and easier because you've stopped building walls of resistance. So here's your final step. Make this your identity. Not a temporary experiment, not something you try until it works. This is you now. The person who knows it's done before it shows up. The person who doesn't let timelines control their emotions. The person who can stand in silence and still feel certain. The person who allows instead of forces. The person who lives as if it's already real. When you live like this, you won't have to manifest the way you used to. You'll be a magnet. And once you've experienced that kind of flow, you'll never want to live any other way again. If this journey has shifted something inside you, lock it in right now by typing, "I live in the energy of already having it" in the comments. And if this message spoke to your heart, share it with someone you love. Because sometimes the thing they need most isn't more advice, it's the permission to finally stop chasing. Subscribe for the next video, because we're going even deeper, and you won't want to miss it.